10 years after their rebirth, Isabella and Benjamin pretended not to know each other, as if the past they shared had never happened. He had followed the class beauty to a university in another city, chasing ambition and prestige, while Isabella remained in their hometown, embracing a quieter life with her parents. With the advantage of a second chance, Benjamin quickly climbed the ranks in his industry, married that same class beauty, and bathed in the glow of success. Isabella, on the other hand, settled into their old house, living modestly but peacefully. A decade passed before fate brought them back together at a school reunion. When she walked into the private dining room, she heard the laughter and familiar voices already flowing. "Benjamin, you really did well for yourself. You even got the class goddess," someone teased. Another chimed in, "Look at how successful he is now in the big city. Meanwhile, the rest of us are just average people." Someone else added, "Weren't there rumors back then that you and Isabella were a thing? You two were always together. Everyone thought you'd end up married." Benjamin's voice floated through the air, calm and indifferent. "We were just classmates. Nothing more." Isabella smiled faintly at those words. It had been 10 years since their rebirth. There was no room for resentment anymore. Calmly, she pushed open the door. Despite the years, she recognized him instantly. He was seated on the sofa, a cigar in one hand, Emma the class beauty resting against his shoulder like a trophy. Their classmates gathered around them, laughing, fawning, flattering. But the moment Isabella appeared, the room shifted. All eyes turned. The class rep, ever the peacemaker, grinned and greeted her warmly. "Speak of the devil. Isabella, look who's here." Benjamin. Their gazes locked. He held Emma a little closer, his eyes scanning Isabella from head to toe with a subtle smirk of superiority. Dressed plainly, and without makeup since she was pregnant, she knew she didn't shine like Emma did. Emma wore Chanel, carried a Hermes bag, and had a face painted by professionals. Yet Isabella walked in with her head high, greeted everyone with effortless grace, and joined a group of familiar classmates. Just then, someone mentioned Crisal. "He said his flight's delayed, so don't wait for him," the class rep announced, and everyone took their seats for dinner. Toasts were raised in Benjamin's honor, glasses clinked, and praises flew. Later, Isabella stepped out to the restroom. As she came out, she ran into Benjamin, his cheeks flushed with alcohol. He looked her up and down and sneered, "Is this what you've become in the 10 years since you left me?" Isabella remained silent, her face calm. But something in her stirred, memories rising like smoke, memories of the night they fought before their first life ended. Back then, they'd argued on the highway. The reason? After graduating college, she had followed Benjamin to the big city, building a life with him for 10 long years. Now that they were somewhat successful, all she wanted was to go home. She was an only child, and last year, her father had died from a stroke because no one got him to the hospital in time. Her mother was alone now, and Isabella couldn't stop worrying. Benjamin had promised her they would return once they had saved enough. But now he kept delaying, insisting there was no future in their hometown. He never wanted to go back, not even for her. At most, he offered to bring her mother to live with them. But her mother had visited before and couldn't adjust. No friends, no family, just isolation. And Isabella herself, even after all these years, still felt like a stranger in that city. Eventually, she snapped. "If you won't go, I'll go alone." "Why are you pressuring me?" Benjamin snapped back. "What's wrong with staying here? Do you really want to stay a small-town girl your whole life? Do you want our child to grow up at a disadvantage?" She was 5 months pregnant then. That pregnancy only deepened her longing to return. She knew once the baby arrived, leaving would be nearly impossible. Their hometown wasn't a bad place. It wasn't some backwater. Sure, it wasn't New York or Beijing, but it was stable, familiar, close to family, nothing like the bleak picture Benjamin kept painting. "So, everyone who stays in a small city is worthless?" she challenged. "People without ambition choose to stay in those small places, wasting their lives," he said with disdain. "I despise them." Her voice dropped to a cold scoff. "Am I one of them, then?" "I don't want you to become one," he replied solemnly. And then he said a thing that shattered something in her. "If I'd known, I wouldn't have stayed in our hometown for college with you. I wasted 4 years. I should have come here with Emma and started my career earlier." That sentence, it stung. She had always believed their bond was real. Back in high school, Emma had confessed to him, but he turned her down. He and Isabella had studied together for 3 years, and their love had grown naturally. But now he stood there, rewriting history, erasing the love they once shared, framing it all as a regret. 14 years together, and suddenly he was blaming her for every opportunity he thought he missed. At first, she thought he was just venting. But after hearing him repeat that same line again and again over the years, she finally realized he meant it. Every word. Maybe, in his own twisted way, Benjamin had been trying to tell her how much he loved her, how much he had sacrificed. But later she realized truly did regret it. That's why, when they died in a car crash and were both reborn on the day of college applications, he didn't hesitate to follow Emma to a university in another city. Isabella stayed behind. They both knew the other had been reborn, but neither said a word, as if by silent agreement. They never interfered with each other's path again. Isabella never expected their paths to cross again. And yet, here they were. And from the way Benjamin positioned himself that night, it was obvious he'd been waiting for her. As she stood silent, he smirked. Now do you see what staying in your little hometown got you? Look at yourself, then look at everyone else from our class. Has anyone else stayed behind and succeeded? He leaned closer. But even if you regret it now, it's too late. I've already decided to marry Emma. He pulled out a massive diamond ring, at least 5 carats, she estimated instantly. She knew because the one at home was slightly larger. If you hadn't been so stubborn, this ring would have been yours, he added. Then congratulations to you both, she said coolly and walked right past him, not even glancing back. She could feel his eyes burning holes into her back, but she couldn't understand what bothered him so much. He chose his own life, the exact life he'd always dreamed of. Did he really need to see her miserable just to feel fulfilled? Back at the table, her phone rang. She glanced at the screen and picked up. Did you land? She asked. Yeah, I'll be there soon. If you're tired, you don't need to come. I can head home by myself later. How can I let my wife attend a reunion alone and come back alone? I'll be there in 20 minutes. A soft smile touched her lips. She didn't say anything more. Just as she set the phone down, someone approached her. Isabella. It was Emma, holding a wine glass. It's been so long. Let me toast to you. I owe you a thank you, she said with a glowing smile. Benjamin told me if it hadn't been for you helping him back then, he never would have gotten into a top university. Isabella gave a faint smile. There's no need for thanks. We just helped each other as classmates. Still, you contributed to his success today. So I'll toast to you on his behalf, Emma insisted. As she spoke, she tried to pour beer into Isabella's glass. I don't drink, Isabella said, politely declining. Just a little, Emma insisted, and despite Isabella's refusal, continued to pour. Isabella reached out to stop her, and suddenly, Emma yelped. The beer spilled all over her Chanel outfit and Hermes bag. She scrambled for napkins, trying to clean the mess while muttering, My clothes, my bag, they can't get wet. Other classmates, well aware of the price tag of what she was wearing, looked on in awkward silence. After a few moments of blotting her blouse, Emma turned to Isabella, her expression twisted with accusation. Even if you're jealous, this was too much. You ruined my clothes and bag. Can you even afford to compensate me? Before Isabella could respond, Benjamin appeared, his voice sharp and scolding. Isabella, you went too far. I didn't do it on purpose, she explained calmly. It truly was an accident. She had merely tried to stop Emma from pouring the drink, just a simple motion, but the bottle slipped, and the liquid went everywhere. Just because I announced I'm marrying Emma, you couldn't handle it. Benjamin added mockingly, loud enough for everyone to hear. Classmates around them started whispering. Really? Isabella never struck me as the jealous type. People aren't always what they seem. The ones who act like they don't care might be the ones who care the most deep down. Weren't Benjamin and Isabella together before? Maybe she regrets not following him to the big city. Isabella bit her lip, but stayed composed. It was truly unintentional. I told Emma I don't drink, but she insisted. That's all. Emma offered a falsely sincere smile. I really appreciate you helping Benjamin back then. I hope you can let go of whatever feelings you're still holding on to. I know how much you cared for him. Isabella stared at her, dumbfounded. What makes you think I still have feelings for Benjamin? Did I say something? Was it my face? My eyes? Stop pretending, Isabella, Emma said with feigned pity. Benjamin's thriving now. There's no way you're not filled with regret. Isabella's voice came out clear and steady. I have no regrets. Everyone makes their own choices. I'm happy with mine. Benjamin chuckled sarcastically, clearly not believing a word. Isabella had no desire to keep explaining. There was nothing to explain. They were no longer connected, not as lovers, not as friends. This encounter was just a coincidence. If she'd known Benjamin would be here tonight, she might have skipped the reunion altogether. It wasn't that she was holding on to anything, it was that some people belong to a life already lived. I'll pay for the clothes and the bag, she said, not wanting to argue. Send me the cost and your account info, and I'll transfer the money. Pay. Benjamin interjected. Do you even know how much Emma's outfit and bag cost? The clothes 150,000 yuan. The bag 300,000. That doesn't even include accessories. But I'll cut you a break. Just give us 450,000. Isabella reminded herself not to get angry. The doctor had said stress wasn't good during pregnancy. You don't have to pay, Benjamin continued generously. Just apologize sincerely, and we'll forget it ever happened. An apology isn't enough, Emma added quickly. You need to promise, in front of everyone, that you'll never have any inappropriate thoughts about Benjamin again. Isabella blinked. Then she laughed. It wasn't a polite laugh. It was the kind of laugh that bubbled up when rage met disbelief. Without a word, she picked up the half-full beer bottle beside her. The doctor had said she shouldn't bottle up emotions. So calmly, slowly, she poured the remaining beer over Emma's designer clothes and bag. Emma froze, stunned. For a few seconds, she just stared at Isabella as if unable to comprehend what had just happened. Then she exploded. Are you crazy? What the hell are you doing? Benjamin rushed in front of Emma, shielding her like some damsel in distress, and shoved Isabella. Fortunately, the class monitor stepped in before things got worse, positioning himself between them to stop Benjamin from doing anything reckless. He raised his hands in a calming gesture. Benjamin, let's not get worked up. Do you think I'm being too lenient? Benjamin growled, glaring past him at Isabella. How dare you treat Emma like that? Who do you think you are? Isabella looked at him coldly. I don't need your forgiveness. I'm not pretending to be anyone. I'm just myself. Her voice was firm, cutting. Then she added, since I agreed to pay for those clothes and that bag, they're mine now. How I treat them is none of your business. Benjamin's jaw clenched. Can you even afford it? He snapped. Give me the account number, Isabella replied, enunciating each word with steady clarity. Are you really willing to ruin yourself just to spite me? Benjamin hissed. If you just controlled your temper, none of this would have happened. Give me the account number, she repeated, firmer now. Don't regret this, he warned. Benjamin, stop wasting time on her. Emma cut in, her tone laced with fury. If she's that desperate, just give her the number, and let's see if she can actually pay. Without further delay, Benjamin recited a string of numbers. Isabella pulled out her phone and tried to make the transfer. She typed in the password, but it failed. That was strange. She was sure it was right. She tried again. Still wrong. Her lips pressed together. Maybe the rumors were true. Pregnancy really did mess with your memory. Her mind went blank. She stood there while Benjamin and Emma waited smugly, classmates watching nearby like it was a free show. When the second attempt failed, Emma smiled sweetly. What happened to all that confidence, Isabella? Where's the money? Why hasn't it arrived? Benjamin had his phone out, watching for the notification, but nothing. I forgot my password, Isabella said at last. If she tried again, the account might lock. How convenient, Emma scoffed. Benjamin chuckled, the sound cold and mocking. Around them, classmates whispered. I actually thought she'd pay. I was starting to feel bad for her. Who's dumb enough to pay that kind of money? 450,000 yuan? That's half a house. Benjamin and Emma were willing to let it go, but Isabella just had to escalate. She really embarrassed herself now. Can't even back down. Emma's voice cut through the murmurs. So what now? You gonna write an IOU? How long will it take you to pay it off? 1 year? 2? Or the rest of your life? 10 minutes, Isabella answered plainly. Cristobal should be arriving any minute. Stop pretending, Isabella, Emma snapped. You can't afford it. You should have just apologized, but now you'll have to get on your knees and beg. Everyone stared, waiting for the moment Isabella would break. But just then, the door opened and a familiar voice rang out. Sorry I'm late. All heads turned. Cristobal stepped in, wearing a casual smile. My flight got delayed. I came as fast as I could. He walked straight toward Isabella, noticing immediately that something was wrong. What's going on here? He asked, brows furrowed. The class monitor tried to defuse the tension. It's just a little misunderstanding, he said, gesturing toward Emma and Benjamin. We're all classmates, right? Let's not make a big deal out of this. This isn't about being classmates, Emma interjected with a sneer. Isabella just doesn't know her place. I wasn't even going to bring it up, but she poured beer all over me. I deserve an explanation. Cristobal glanced at Isabella. You poured beer on her? Cristobal, Emma said quickly, switching to a sweet tone. I heard you used to have a crush on Isabella. I hate to talk bad about her in front of you, but this time, she went too far. She's just jealous because I'm with Benjamin now. That's why she ruined my outfit and my bag. You come from a good family, you should recognize the brands I'm wearing, right? Emma was clearly trying to win Cristobal's sympathy, but he turned to Isabella and asked bluntly, Are you jealous of her? What do you think? Isabella replied, meeting his gaze. There's really nothing to be jealous of, Cristobal said casually. The room went silent. Emma's expression faltered. Cristobal, don't tell me you still like Isabella after all these years? I do, he answered without hesitation. That hasn't changed. A hush fell over the group. No one had known. In truth, Cristobal had been pursuing Isabella for years, but she hadn't accepted him until recently. After what she'd endured with Benjamin, a marriage without dramatic fights, but one that left her feeling suffocated, she was wary of starting over. But eventually, she realized Cristobal wasn't like Benjamin. He didn't demand or diminish. He didn't trap her in the past. And she didn't want to keep living in that past either. Life had to move forward. Her parents had begun to pressure her to settle down. So she'd agreed to date Cristobal, and earlier that year, they had quietly registered their marriage. Shortly afterward, she'd found out she was pregnant. They decided to delay the wedding celebration and hadn't told anyone yet. I only came to this reunion because of her, Cristobal said matter-of-factly, then turned to Isabella. So, what's the situation now? I forgot my bank card password, Isabella replied. Can you transfer 450,000 yuan to Benjamin's account to compensate Emma? Give me the account number, Cristobal said, pulling out his phone. Emma's eyes widened. Benjamin's face darkened. Cristobal, this is between us and Isabella. Don't get involved, he snapped. This is insane, Emma cried. She ruined my outfit and now you're paying? Do you think he's your little lapdog just because he likes you? Everyone knew Cristobal came from money. Even back in high school, he'd been picked up in a black Mercedes. It's what I want, Cristobal said simply. If she needs me, I'm here. No hesitation. Emma was so stunned, she couldn't speak. She had come here to humiliate Isabella. She wanted to break her. But now, the tables had turned completely and Emma had no idea how to handle it. Why she hated Isabella so much was still a mystery. Benjamin and Isabella had ended long ago. There was no reason to hold on to that grudge. And yet, here Emma was furious, embarrassed, and completely defeated. Is this the right account number? Cristobal asked, confirming it with Benjamin after entering the details. Benjamin glanced at him, but didn't respond. His face was still grim. Without waiting, Cristobal completed the transfer. Seconds later, Benjamin's phone buzzed with a text confirming the payment. Emma leaned in, eyes wide. You actually paid 450,000 yuan for Isabella? She asked, stunned. What did you expect? Cristobal replied coolly. Now that the money's been sent, can you please go back to your seat? Emma clenched her teeth, hesitated, then turned to Benjamin for support. But Benjamin remained silent, his expression unreadable, and walked away without a word. Emma hurried after him, her heels clicking angrily on the floor as they returned to their seats. Benjamin lit another cigarette, inhaling deeply, while the class monitor awkwardly encouraged everyone to continue eating and drinking. Cristobal sat beside Isabella, frowning as he watched Benjamin smoke. "Sorry, Benjamin," he said politely, "but my wife is pregnant. Would you mind not smoking indoors?" Benjamin froze. He hadn't processed the words immediately. Emma, equally shocked, blurted out, "Your wife? Who's your wife?" Cristobal smiled calmly, draping his arm around Isabella's shoulders. "Isn't it obvious?" he said. "We just registered our marriage. The wedding hasn't happened yet because the pregnancy caught us by surprise, so we decided to postpone it." "You married Isabella?" Emma's voice pitched higher, laced with disbelief. "Is there a problem with that?" Cristobal asked, smiling with quiet confidence. Emma's face flushed red. Just moments ago, she'd been smugly declaring that Isabella was jealous, poor, and bitter. Now, that same woman was revealed to be married to Cristobal, a man whose wealth, charm, and accomplishments rivaled, or perhaps even surpassed Benjamin's. Back in school, Cristobal had been known not only for his elite background, but for consistently being top of the class. After college, he'd built his own business, and his success had only grown. Though he and Benjamin worked in different cities, their reputations had surely reached each other's circles, which made Emma's embarrassment all the more unbearable. The way their classmates looked at her shifted. She no longer seemed like the radiant center of attention but a petty woman who judged someone too quickly. Isabella hadn't intended to show off. She never cared about Cristobal's money or reputation. What mattered to her was that they were equals in values and spirit. After everything she'd been through, she understood now that shared values mattered more than wealth or status. Without them, even the deepest love would eventually wither in the grave of marriage. After Cristobal revealed their relationship, classmates rushed over with congratulations. Cristobal gently blocked the alcohol, saying, "My wife can't drink milk only." "Got it," someone joked. "Don't worry, we're not like some people who think having money gives them the right to bully others." Laughter rippled through the group, and in an instant, the entire mood changed. Emma's expression darkened further. She glanced at Benjamin, hoping for some kind of support, but he wasn't even looking at her. His eyes were fixed squarely on Isabella. She didn't want to engage, but his gaze was intense, uncomfortable. Finally, she looked back at him, locking eyes. Benjamin's eyes were bloodshot, a hint of rage hiding just beneath the surface. Isabella couldn't understand why he was so angry. Wasn't this what he wanted? A life with Emma? A shining future in a big city? Cristobal noticed it too. With a small chuckle, he asked casually, "Does Mr. Song have an issue with my marriage to Isabella?" Benjamin turned away, crushed his cigarette into the ashtray, and drained his wine glass in silence. Cristobal didn't waste another second on him. Instead, he wrapped his arm more tightly around Isabella and returned his attention to the classmates, who were all buzzing with admiration. "After all these years, Cristobal finally won Isabella's heart," someone said. "They really are a perfect match." The rest of the evening was lively, filled with smiles and well wishes, completely untouched by the earlier drama. In fact, Cristobal's arrival had lifted the atmosphere. All eyes were on him and Isabella now, while Benjamin and Emma, the former golden couple, were left in the shadows. Suddenly quiet and irrelevant, they kept to themselves. Before the night ended, Benjamin got up and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Emma chased after him in a panic. "What's wrong with him?" one classmate whispered. Another shrugged. "Probably thinks he's something special just because he's been in the big city. We were just being polite, really thought he was better than us." "Yeah, well, I don't envy Benjamin at all," someone else added. "Sure, he's done well, but acting like everyone else is beneath him? No thanks."
Exactly.
Everyone lives their own life. No one's better than anyone. The sentiment was shared by many in the room. Clearly, Benjamin's arrogance had worn thin. But Isabella wasn't surprised. He had always looked down on people from smaller towns, always believing they were less experienced, less capable. To him, small-town life was something to escape, not embrace. After the reunion, Cristobal and Isabella sat together in the car. He'd had a little to drink, and his voice was slightly slurred with emotion. "Seems like Benjamin still hasn't let go of you," he said with a faint trace of jealousy. "That's impossible. Isabella replied firmly. He just can't stand seeing me doing well. In Benjamin's mind, someone who stayed behind in a small city was supposed to be a failure, filled with regret and bitterness. He never expected her to be happy, stable, and free. He thought his absence would leave her broken. But instead, it left space for her to build something better. Cristobal didn't respond. He simply pulled her into a tight embrace and whispered softly, "I should thank him for letting you go." Back then, it was hard to say who had let go of whom. Isabella had always believed it was mutual. That's why she never held any resentment. If Benjamin hadn't stood in front of her today, she might have forgotten him completely. The next day, Isabella's phone rang. It was Benjamin. "Isabella, let's meet," he said. "There's nothing left for us to talk about," she replied flatly. "I'm at Island Cafe. Waiting." And with that, he hung up. He sounded so certain she'd show up. Just like in their past life, he always assumed he could predict her every move. And most of the time, he'd been right. In every argument, whether he was wrong or right, things always ended on his terms. That was how she had ended up spending the last 10 years of their previous life, living with him in a city she never chose. And this time, she went just as he expected. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was just the need to put an end to any lingering ambiguity. Either way, she walked into the cafe. When Benjamin saw her, a glint of triumph flickered in his eyes, as if she were still someone he could manipulate. She sat across from him and cut to the point. "What do you want? Cappuccino or mocha?" he asked. "Just water," she replied coolly. "I'm pregnant. No caffeine." His face twitched, just slightly, but he said nothing. He waved over a server and ordered her water. Then, leaning forward, he said, "I didn't expect you to end up with Cristobal. Didn't you say you didn't like him back in school?" "People change," Isabella said without emotion. "Didn't you reject Emma's confession back then? But now you're with her." That's because Benjamin started but trailed off. She didn't care. "Marriage is something only the people in it truly understand," she said. "Only they know if it works." "Are you implying that our marriage in our last life didn't work?" Benjamin snapped. "What else could I mean?" she replied openly. "If it had worked, we wouldn't have separated." "I was teaching you a lesson," he said angrily. "You needed to understand how wrong your stubbornness was. Once you realized that and came back to me, we could have fixed everything." She stared at him. Not with anger. Not with bitterness. Just resignation. "Why do you speak with such arrogance?" she asked, genuinely puzzled. "Because I was right," he said firmly. "Every choice I made was right. Look at our classmates, how many of them who stayed in that small town actually succeeded? Cristobal? Please. He only made it because of his family. Without their help, he'd be nothing. I'm the only one who succeeded on my own in a global city." The more he spoke, the more agitated he became. Isabella simply sipped her water, letting him spiral. Finally, he noticed her silence. "Why aren't you saying anything?" he barked. "If you believe everything you're saying is right, then what's the point of me responding?" she answered. "Isabella, no need to be sarcastic. Is it so hard to acknowledge someone else's success?"
"No," she said.
"You're very capable. It's not easy to survive, let alone thrive, in a strange city. I've never thought your ambitions were wrong. I've never denied your success. The world needs people like you, driven, productive, contributors to society. But Benjamin, just because your choices were right for you doesn't mean everyone else's are wrong. What gives you the right to judge or ridicule how others live? You've gained experience, improved your life, and made your mark on society. That's your social contribution. But what about your responsibilities to family? Have you ever considered what your parents truly want? You gave them money, yes, but at a certain age, people start to realize money isn't everything." Before she could finish, Benjamin cut her off. "Isabella, I didn't come here for a lecture." Of course not. He never listened. In his world, once his mind was made up, no one could challenge him. That's when she truly understood the importance of shared values in a relationship. She said nothing more. Silence lingered for a few beats. Then Benjamin leaned forward. "Let me be direct. I came today to ask if you'll come back to me." She blinked. For a moment, she thought she'd misheard. He sighed at her stunned expression. "Yes. Think of this as a new beginning. If you come with me now, we can pretend the last 10 years never happened. The only condition is you get rid of the baby. Isabella sat in silence, trying to comprehend what he had just said. She had expected him to want to show off, to make her regret leaving. She had come today to tell him she was happy, that she never regretted her choices for even a second. She never expected T-San offer to reconcile. A demand to erase everything she had built. Cat got your tongue? Benjamin raised an eyebrow. Are you that excited? Benjamin, are you insane? Her voice finally rose. His face darkened. I'm married, she said sharply. I'm pregnant. I have a stable, happy family. You're already engaged. You've built your life in the big city. And now you want me to just be with you? Her disbelief was genuine. Is it that you want me back or you just can't stand the idea that I'm doing well without you? Benjamin shifted uncomfortably. I know you've been resenting me for the past 10 years. Just because I didn't agree to move back to our hometown.
Fine.
I'm willing to compromise. I'll settle my affairs, return with you, live near your parents. Let's fix this. Isabella looked at him in silence. Benjamin mistook her quiet for hesitation and pushed further. I understand this is a lot. I leave the day after tomorrow.
Take time to think.
Let me know before then. You don't have to wait that long, she said. I can give you my answer now. Benjamin's eyes widened slightly. You've already decided? There's nothing to consider, she said. Benjamin, I have my own life now. What we had ended a long time ago. The moment we were reborn, we each made our choices. I don't need you to sacrifice your life in the big city or give up your ambitions for me. Isabella, Benjamin said sharply, you'd better think carefully before you speak. I won't make this offer again. If that's all you came to say, I replied as I stood up, then there's no reason to waste any more time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye forever. Isabella, he called after me, grabbing my arm, panic in his eyes. I've come this far, and you're still not satisfied? He asked, his voice trembling with anger. What does that even mean, Benjamin? I asked coldly. You think after 10 years apart, we can just pick up where we left off because you say so? What makes you think that's even possible? Then what do you want me to do? He gritted his teeth. I'll do anything to please you. I don't need anything from you, I said. I just need you to stay away from me. Isabella, enough with the attitude.
Fine.
Call it stubbornness. I don't care what you think. I'll stay stubborn, so don't waste your time, Mr. Song. What do you want from me, really? Benjamin's voice cracked as he reached the edge of desperation. Do you want me to get on my knees? Beg you? Admit that I still love you, and I can't live without you. I stared at him. His words shattered any lingering image I had of the man I once loved. Sensing my silence, he softened his tone. Think of the past 10 years as a dream, he said quietly. Let's start over. I only left back then because I was angry, not because I stopped loving you. I scoffed. You think you can just chalk it up to anger? You followed your dream, your path. And now that it's not as fulfilling as you imagined, you want to come back and start over like nothing happened. Benjamin looked visibly shaken. Furious, even. When did I say I regretted anything? With what I've accomplished, why would I regret a thing? Emma would probably be thrilled just to have my child. I couldn't care less what you think, I replied calmly. The day you chose to follow Emma to another city, whatever we had ended. Stop pretending, Isabella. You've never been able to get over the fact that I left you. You're too proud to admit you still want me. I'm giving you an easy way out here. You're right, I said softly. It was hard. After we were reborn, I was confused. I never expected you to choose so quickly, so completely. I thought the years we spent together meant you'd at least hesitate. But you didn't. And for a while, I felt like a joke. I looked him directly in the eyes. That's when I stopped feeling anything for you. If you hadn't shown up today, I probably wouldn't have remembered you at all. Isabella, I don't care if you believe me or not. That's how I feel. I hope you never appear in my life again. I'm living a full, happy life. Don't ruin that. I pulled my arm from his grip and walked away, without a second glance. I truly believed that was the end of it. After everything we said, after it ended so bitterly, I thought there'd be no more contact between us. That even if we crossed paths again, we'd just be strangers. But half a month later, I received a message from Benjamin. I'm back. And I'm not leaving again. I froze. I knew what the words meant, but somehow couldn't comprehend them. Can we meet? I immediately turned off my phone. I told myself it was just a hallucination. But when I walked out of work, there he was waiting at the office entrance. After I got pregnant, Cristobal suggested I take a break from work. But I didn't want to sit at home all day and risk sinking into depression. So, I kept working. Isabella. Benjamin stepped toward me with a massive bouquet in his hands. I felt a wave of revulsion. Was I not clear enough? I asked. You said I couldn't expect you to come back just because I asked. Well, I've sorted everything out in the other city. I'm here now. I swear I won't leave again. Do you really think that's what this was about? I asked. You think our relationship ended just because I wanted to move home and you didn't? If we loved each other, he argued, how else could we have drifted so far apart? Because we both made choices, I said. Because we both gave up on each other. I never gave up on you, Benjamin said, flustered. I know Cristobal treats you well. He's willing to stay in your city, build a life with you. But I can do all of that now too. If you know I'm happy, then why are you here? I asked. Why are you trying to disrupt that? Because deep down, you still love me, he said with certainty. You only settled for Cristobal because I left. But now I'm back, you shouldn't deny what you really feel. I didn't mock him for his delusions. Once I loved him deeply, and it was that love that gave him the confidence to say these things now. Benjamin, I said gently, do you know that love can fade? That disappointment can kill it completely? I met his gaze. His eyes were red, shocked. He hadn't expected me to be so calm, so indifferent. In our last life, I followed you to another city. You promised we'd go back one day. But then you said we never would. I never faulted you for chasing your dreams. You succeeded, and I was proud of you. But you lied to me. From the moment you asked me to go with you, you never really intended to come back, did you? Benjamin's lips parted, struggling. I was afraid, he admitted. I was afraid you wouldn't go if I told you the truth. I loved you too much to lose you. And after we were reborn, you followed Emma without hesitation. Did you think about losing me then? I thought you'd wait for me, he said quietly. I never imagined you'd really end up with someone else. So that's why you came back, I said. Not because you love me, but because you couldn't accept that I'd moved on. Isabella, I really love you, he said desperately. Being with Emma was just a moment of weakness. You're the one I've loved all this time, Benjamin said, voice trembling with emotion. But instead of stirring anything in me, his words only made my stomach turn. You didn't love Emma, yet you wasted 10 years of her life. Now you say you love me, yet you demand I submit to you. And when you realize everything's slipping out of your hands, suddenly you panic and beg. Don't you see how pitiful that is? I'm sorry, Benjamin muttered, his voice soft and unsure. I'm sorry, Isabella. Can you forgive me this time? I swear I'll never disappoint you again. He pulled a ring from his pocket, the very one he had once intended for Emma. Do you remember this? He asked. Back in our last life, we couldn't afford it. But I promised I'd get it for you one day. I came back this time to make things right, and I bought this ring just for you. You know why Emma was so hostile to you at the reunion? Because she knew I was planning to get back together with you. I laughed. So that was his version of reconciliation? Not kindness, not humility, but humiliating me publicly, trying to make me beg. Funny, I said, looking at the ring. Because even after you got rich in our past life, you never gave me that ring. I was too busy, he started. No, I cut him off. It's because people like you only realize the value of something after it's gone. Even if it's all my fault, even if I've made every mistake, please, Isabella.
Give me one more chance.
Marry me. I'll give you everything you ever wanted. And with that, he dropped to one knee and proposed in front of my office building. Maybe in our past life, I loved him so much he believed I'd come back the moment he escaped as if nothing had happened. But I shook my head and rejected him coldly. There is no second chance. Isabella, I gave up my career in the big city for you. That was your choice, not mine, I said, cutting him off. And I've told you, our breakup wasn't about geography. It was about your choices over and over again, choices that killed my love. I can change. No, you won't. Everything you do has a purpose behind it. You knew I once loved you deeply. You used that love to manipulate me, thinking that even if I found out, I'd still forgive you. You didn't buy that ring because I wanted it. You bought it because you're desperate to keep me now. Because you finally realize I don't care anymore. And the reason you decided to stay in this city isn't me. It's because your parents are aging and your mother fell ill. Emma wouldn't stay here with you, so you thought of me. I said all this calmly. I even smiled. Because I knew I genuinely didn't care anymore. Even knowing his motives weren't pure, I felt nothing. No anger. No pain. Just clarity. From the corner of my eye, I saw Cristobal approaching, walking steadily toward me. He had been waiting nearby. He always waited for me, patiently, respectfully. He trusted me. His love was steady and warm, something Benjamin could never replicate. Ready to go, love? Cristobal asked, wrapping his arms around me. I nodded. I didn't even glance at Benjamin again. We turned and walked away. I stayed for you, Benjamin shouted behind us. Not for Emma. Not for my parents. I paused for a beat, then turned back slightly. Even if that were true, I said, I still wouldn't come back. When love is gone, it's gone. I meant it. I couldn't even remember the happy memories I once shared with Benjamin. The only happiness I saw now was the future I was building with Cristobal. After that day, I never gave Benjamin another chance to speak to me. I blocked his number, ignored any unknown callers, and eventually I decided to quit my job. Cristobal had always worried about me working while pregnant. He said he could take care of me, that if I ever got bored, I could join his company instead. At first, I resisted. I didn't want to rely too much on him. But over time, I realized we're truly a family. A few months later, I gave birth to a daughter. 6 months after that, Cristobal and I held a beautiful wedding. We invited many of our old classmates. But of course, not Benjamin. As Cristobal and I walked over to the classmates' table to toast, I overheard whispers. Benjamin hasn't gone back to the other city in over a year. I heard he and Emma broke up. His mom passed away recently, someone added. Thankfully, he was home for over a year before that. Otherwise, he would have regretted it forever. I went to the funeral, another classmate chimed in. He didn't look like the same person. He looked empty, like a shadow of who he was last year. They say his mother's biggest regret before she died was never meeting a grandchild. Could it be that Benjamin still hasn't gotten over Emma? No, someone whispered. Emma was willing to stay for him, even tried to get back together. But he rejected her. The girl glanced at me, but didn't finish her sentence. I pretended not to hear. I sipped my wedding wine, smiling as I greeted guests. Later that night, Cristobal and I returned home, exhausted. I collapsed onto the couch, too tired to move. Cristobal was sorting through the wedding gifts when he suddenly called out, Isabella, there's a personal envelope for you. I mumbled. He handed it to me. The name Benjamin was written across the front. I hadn't seen him at the wedding. I looked at Cristobal. He shook his head. I didn't see him either. I opened the envelope. Inside was the same ring along with a letter and 8,888 yuan as a wedding gift. I unfolded the note. It read, Isabella, congratulations on your wedding. I know you don't want to see me, the letter read, but I couldn't stop myself from coming to your wedding. I hope you didn't notice me there. I just wanted to see you, to see if you were truly happy. Maybe then I could finally let go. Maybe I could finally face the truth. That you really don't love me anymore. Not even a little. I was so arrogant to believe that as long as I came back, you'd still be waiting for me. You were right. When I left after we were reborn, it wasn't just out of spite. I truly believed I could be happy with anyone else, that life would still be fine without you. And for the first few years, it was. I enjoyed the freedom. No one nagging me to eat breakfast. No one scolding me for coming home drunk after business dinners. No one begging me to return to our hometown. But then, one day, I started to miss you. I missed your cooking. I missed how you waited in the living room no matter how late I came home. I missed the way you held me tight. I missed you for a long, long time. But I never came to find you. I stubbornly believed you were the one who should yield between us. That your choice had been the wrong one. Until I couldn't take it anymore. I desperately wanted to be with you. I even started calling Emma by your name sometimes. That's when I decided to come back and attend the reunion. And when I saw you, dressed so simply, I stupidly thought I had the upper hand. You looked tired, worn down. I thought if I just asked, you'd come back to me. But reality hit me hard. There was no love in your eyes when you looked at me. I thought I could use money to suppress you. I never expected you to already be married. Or pregnant. You didn't lack love. Or security. And I panicked. I didn't know what to do to get you back. I kept telling myself you were only with Crisal to get back at me. That deep down, you still loved me. You had loved me so much in our past life, how could that love just vanish? So I shamelessly showed up, convinced I still had a chance. That anything Crisal could give you, I could give you too. And since you had once loved me more, surely you'd be moved. But looking back, now I was humiliating myself. What right did I have to think that after abandoning you, you'd still be there waiting? I'm selfish. And pathetic. Even now, I want to tell you that giving up my life in the big city was for you, not for my parents. Though I am grateful I spent my mother's final year by her side. I know none of this matters now. I'm just sad, Isabella. I hurt so much. I went to the hospital the day you gave birth. I saw Crisal holding your child. I saw the joy on his face. And I remembered the child we never had in our past life. I had looked forward to being a father. I had been ready. But in this new life, I lost my chance. I'm sorry, Isabella. I truly am. I wish you a lifetime of happiness. I stared at the letter, my heart surprisingly calm. His feelings now probably mirrored my own from years ago, when I watched him walk away, without a second glance. Back then, I kept telling myself to respect his choices. But at night I broke down. I grieved. I resented. I suffered. I struggled to let go. But now, all of that was behind me. I didn't know how long it would take Benjamin to move on. But truthfully, it no longer mattered. I folded the letter slowly and dropped it into the trash. What I didn't notice was the small note scribbled on the back of the envelope. Isabella, I'll be waiting outside your wedding suite tonight. Waiting for you. Crisal, watching beside me, smiled gently. Love, the night is young, he said. And time is precious. We turned off the lights. The long night stretched out before us, warm, quiet, and no longer lonely.